What's going on, everyone? My name is Josh19, and today I'm going to be making a video on tips and tricks for making silver in Albion Online. So I wanted to kind of break this video up into two different sections, starting with the beginner and then going more into some advanced ways of making silver. So the first beginner way is killing humanoid monsters. So yes, this is pretty obvious. Humanoid monsters do drop silver. However, they usually are overkilled, so the silver value is actually really low. Of course, this can be a very big problem for a lot of newer players because every time they kill a mob, they only get about 20 silver. So that would mean you would have to kill 10 mobs in order to get even just 200 silver profit. So again, this is quite a big problem, and it's kind of hard, and it's not really the most effective way to make silver, in my opinion. What you really need to do is try to get to some of the higher tier PvP areas and kill some of those monsters there that are less killed. However, of course, you do need to have a larger group, and it is very high risk going out in those areas, but you can get a lot better rewards. There are a lot of dungeons out in the PvP areas, and you can definitely go through those dungeon runs with a large guild or a large group and get a lot of silver profit. Of course, you do have to keep in mind, depending on your guild's taxes, that can also hinder how much profit you're getting as a player. So be very aware of your guild tax in order if you're wanting to make silver by actually killing humanoid monsters. The other benefit is humanoids also drop items, and gear, which can be sold, of course, for additional profit. So that is one advantage of killing humanoid mobs, is because you can get all those extra items, and it's just basically extra profit as long as you can sell them. Okay, the next thing is gathering. So gathering, you can sell unrefined or even refined resources on the local market. So of course you can make money for that. I don't feel like gathering is really the best option, in my opinion, especially if you're wanting to progress, because you're hindering your ability to craft if you're selling all of your resources. So that kind of moves me into my next topic of crafting. So crafting, you can actually sell, of course, items that you've crafted. This is actually very beneficial if you're selling things that are basically in high demand. So this is definitely a lot better, in my opinion, than actually selling your resources, is making sure you craft an item and then sell it. So what I would recommend is that you have a lot of resources ready and then try to sell your items through general chat before you actually make them. For example, let's say that you're wanting to sell a tier 4 hammer. Okay, instead of crafting that hammer and then trying to sell it, because now you have to sell it in order to get rid of it, or of course you could always salvage it, but if you're trying to make profit from these things, I would recommend that you make sure that you sell it in general chat first. So again, back to the example of the tier 4 hammer, if I ask in general chat and try to sell it for a certain amount and I get a buyer, then I will go craft it with the resources I have. That way I have no loss if someone decides not to buy the hammer, and I still have all my resources that I can try maybe a different type of weapon or a piece of armor or whatever the case is. So that's really a better or more effective way of selling things through general chat, is actually selling them before you craft them and then crafting them once you have a buyer. Kind of alongside of crafting is also farming and cooking. You can actually make quite a bit of silver from this because guilds need food. So you can sell food for a decent price because they need all sorts of food to be able to keep their buildings up and be able to make their higher tier things. So they need to have people selling them food all the time. Also, talking about buildings, you can go into any city that has buildings, and most people who are building owners will set a silver per nutrition points for their buildings. So if you feed their buildings, they provide you silver. Again, it's a per nutrition point. You can set it per, a lot of people set it like 1 silver per nutrition point. And let's say that you had like grilled chicken. I think it gives like 18 nutrition points. So every nutrition you put in there, you'll get silver back from that. So you can actually get profit for that from that by getting that silver. Okay, next thing is thinking outside of the norm. Try to focus on some things that not everybody's doing, and maybe you can make a lot of silver from doing those things. One suggestion would be offer services to other players. For example, offer to be a player or guild's gatherer, and they pay you basically a fee for you to be like a gatherer for them. You could work out like a fee per resource, or even like a package fee that they pay you maybe on like a weekly or daily basis for you to gather things for them. Okay, again, that's a service that you're offering them, and they can pay you a fee for it. Again, another example on that would be you could offer some sort of protective service if you're in very high tier gear, or if you have a group of friends. You guys could offer a protective service in PvP areas, so when someone goes out to gather, they have a large group, or they have a group of people that will help protect them. Again, you can charge a fee for that. So those are a few of the examples for kind of the beginner ways of making silver. Okay, so now we're going to kind of get into some of the more advanced ways. The first thing is the market. So this can be really, really beneficial. So you can buy and sell on the market. So this may take some time to kind of gauge what things are worth on the market. But again, it can provide you quite a bit of reward from it. So you want to try to buy items obviously at a low price. Okay, usually you can get them at a little bit lower price from the general chat, and then of course sell them higher. So you can either sell them back higher in general chat or put them on the market for a little bit higher price. Of course, you do have to remember that the market is very risky. So if you buy something that you've paid in all of that money to it, and now you have to try to sell it. So again, it can be rewarding if you can sell for quite a bit of profit, and it can be some very easy silver, but again, it's very risky. So you do kind of have to gauge it. You kind of have to practice. I would suggest, again, because this is more of an advanced technique, practicing with some lower value items first, and then kind of work your way up into higher value items. Don't just buy like a horse for like, 13K and try to sell it for 15K so you have a 2K profit, because you might end up losing money on it. So just be aware and be careful and practice those things before you kind of jump into it. The next thing is buying land and buildings. So depending on where your location of your buildings are, this can result in a large silver income from others paying tax to use your buildings. You do need to have the kind of highest tier buildings in the area in order to, really get a lot of traffic to your buildings, and you need to have a decent tax rate that people are willing to pay. It also helps to have land that's closer kind of to the center of town, which is where the bank and market are. However, those are much more expensive plots of land, so you actually have to pay a lot more to upkeep. It does take a lot of resources to upgrade buildings, so you'll need to either have friends or guilds to help upgrade your buildings to the next tier. Okay, and like I just mentioned, of course, these buildings and land have high upkeep, so you do have to pay a daily fee for land. Again, if it's closer to the center of town, the daily fee is much, much higher. Okay, you must keep the buildings fed. This can be a real problem, because if your buildings run out of food, then you can't use them at all anyways. So there are a couple ways that you can get around that. Of course, you can offer a silver fee, like I mentioned earlier, for people to actually feed your buildings, and they get some silver from it. Just make sure that you are making more than it's costing you to upkeep your buildings. Okay, so as long as you have a very popular building, you're going to make a lot of silver, and I don't mean just a little silver, a lot of silver. But again, you have to upkeep that land, and you have to upkeep your buildings by keeping them fed. So you're going to put a lot of the silver that you make back into that stuff. Okay, but you can get a very high profit from actually buying land and having buildings on them. Next thing is PvP. So this is a great way to make money, but it's very, very risky. So you need to have really a decent sized group in order to even do this. It's not best to just go out there in a PvP area solo and trying to kill people. You're going to get yourself killed and you end up losing a lot of silver. So when killing other players in a limited PvP area, you have to keep in mind that they're only knocked out. However, they do drop some silver based on durability loss, but you're not going to get a huge gain there. So you really need to go to the full PvP zones, and you're going to get the most reward there from killing other players. If you can find players that are wearing, tier 4, tier 5 gear, you're going to get a big reward from that because you can kill those players and take all of their gear. Do keep in mind that, of course, when a player dies, they lose durability on their items. So when you collect them, you're going to have to actually repair them before you can start selling them. But again, PvP is a great way to make money because you can get a lot of gear and then you can start selling that stuff and you get a huge profit. So these are just some of the tips on making silver. I hope it was helpful for you guys. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more videos in the future, then please subscribe. And don't forget to keep on owning.